Hi, Zach. Mm-hmm.
All right. So yeah, once you hit go live, it should
Yeah,
start the
I
interviews.
I think it's live now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So share. Okay, let me see. Share. I wanted to share the screen. Okay, share my screen because I want to. I don't know if you're there. Can you see it?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, you see? All right.
Okay, you see?
Great. Shall we hang up or no? See people coming in already.
Yeah, we can hang up because it's echoing into the live.
Okay. Yes. All right. So glad you're here. All right. Okay, everyone, welcome. I'm going to start the streaming and take time to respond to your question. So today's focus is on authentic communication. And for those of you who know me, I do in class, so welcome. And I hope we'll get some new faces in there as we move along at 8 o'clock. So, welcome to each of you, and I like that you took time to be here. So, tell me more about the questions you have in mind to strengthen authentic communication, and it can be with anyone, and I will respond to your questions, and I will also share with you my screen as to what are some things to look for to strengthen authentic communication. Okay, welcome, Teresa. I see a lot of familiar names. Very nice. Erica, Jajay, Christina. So do type out your questions, and I would love to respond to your question. So, I'm waiting to hear your question. All right. While we are waiting, offending. Okay, so the question here I see is, how do we communicate without offending the other people? I'm going to share with you my screen, and hopefully we can walk through some of the ideas and the steps. So the question posted by Teresa is, how can we communicate without offending the other person? So I'm going to share with you my screen. Wait, let me do this so you can see my full screen. All right. How can we communicate without offending other person? One of the key things that I want you all to think about is to start with the proverbial I statement. So usually I would say, I really like it when such and such happens. It means a lot. Okay, move up. A lot to me when we are able to. I like it when we can. And the other one is, I appreciate it when you take time to. So this will help you get the conversation going. And a good way is to use these stems to help deepen. Okay. Somebody said you can't hear me. Okay. Okay. You can see the video. Can you hear me now? Okay. Can you hear me? All right. The screen was off, so we cannot see your screen. goes black. All right, so we can't see the screen. Yes, we can hear. That's great. So let me not share the screen. Let me just go with the audio sound. So one of the questions asked was, how do we communicate without offending the person we are talking to? I always think about starting your communication with the I statement because it takes the accusations or the takes the other person out of their defensive mode. So the four stems that I came up with, I really appreciate it when this happens. I like it when you do this. You know, it means a lot to me when you take time to attend to this detail. So to strengthen the communication, focus on the positive and then you end with a positive. So I like it when you do this. I like it. It means a lot to me when you take time to help out with the children. So the focus is on the positive and the positive. When you have a positive start and you end with a negative focus, then it cancels out what you just said because then it sets the person up into a defensive mode. So whatever you do, think of having a plus and a plus. So I'm going to use this stem. It means a lot to me. And so you can fit it in your scenario. So who would like to attempt? And feel free to type it on the in the chat area. It means a lot to me, and you can fit it in your scenario. So remember to end with a positive, not a negative. Okay, I'm waiting for responses. Okay, let's see. How can couples? Okay, I don't have any responses yet with the, it means a lot to me. So I am going to, okay, Elsa, I see you. It means a lot to me when we cook dinner together. Okay, now focus on a emotional request. So the cooking is good. That's a physical request. So what, okay, Zach, I see. It means a lot to me when you tell me directly what you need. So that's closer to an emotional request. It means a lot to me when I feel like you hear me. So when you hear me, Siobhan, thank you. So that's another nice request. So let's have one more. I really appreciate when you purchasing down your when you down your phone and focus on our conversation. When you put down your phone and focus on our conversation. That's a very nice request, Teresa. Yes. So those are the things. Well, it's not important, you know, if it happens one time, but repeatedly over 5 years, 6 years, over a year, it can be extremely annoying. And when couples don't address it, when things show up, it can be very detrimental because when the next time the person blows up, it can be a, you know, a compilation of various issues. So when the person is not attending to you with the because they're busy with the cell phone or when they're not helping out with tasks at home or when multiple things happen or they're inconsiderate about something. So when three things happen repeatedly over a period of time, people can explode. And so sometimes you wonder why we explode over a small matter. It's not over a small matter, it's repeated offending over a period of years. Okay, I'm going to move to the next question. Lindsay, how can couples work to strengthen life together? Chores, divide them, and or when one slacks and the other ignores. Okay, very nice question. So it's important to think about the big picture. So how does your family organize, you know, a structure, not just chores? Do they have allocated time for eating? Do they have allocated time for doing homework? And then do they have allocated time to do chores after dinner? So all these needs to be a conversation that families have, not just the parents, because even when children, when they are 4 or 5, they can participate in the conversation. While their task may be just 1 or 2 tasks, very simple tasks, it's important to include them so that they are part of the conversation. When people are included in conversations, they will participate and they will, take an effort to complete it. And so I suggest that couples, families think about having weekly regrouping time to see what is working and what needs to be improved. So to think of what needs to be improved rather than what we have failed to do. Because many times when we focus on what we are slacking or how we've messed up, failed, then nobody wants to come to the conversation. So people are avoidant. So think about what is working and what can we strengthen. So focus on very simple things rather than overwhelming things. If we can strengthen one thing per week, that is significant. Many times we set ourselves up to fail when we want to strengthen like 4 things. And our brain cannot keep up with 4 things, but if we can focus on one change, that will help us, manage it better. So the key is if you want change, the goal is to make it consistent, to focus on the power of one, not the power of multiple. Many times when people work out, they want to go, okay, first of the year, I'm going to do 5 days a week. Well, that's overwhelming when you haven't done it consistently. So if you can commit yourself to one time or one in workout, once or twice, not overcommit and be overzealous. But if you can commit to one change with your family per week and regroup and address how those changes were effective, that would, hopefully set you in a clearer direction. But whatever it is, the family needs to be in the conversation. It's not just the mother or the father. Many times the mother bear the responsibility and then she wonder why things don't work out, because all children, whatever their age, whoever lives in the household needs to be in that conversation. Okay. All right, Julie, there's a question is, how do you differentiate healthy compromise and losing yourself in a relationship? Okay, let me digest that. How do you differentiate healthy compromise and not losing yourself in a relationship? So in healthy compromise, it's important that you have your own idea and your partner have your own idea. It's important that there are pluses in the conversation, that I hear you, but I also need to communicate and carry my point across. When you keep sacrificing your ideas and your thoughts, then your voice is not in the mix. And over time, it can be a very unrewarding and grinding experience because the partner gets his or her way. So whatever it is, all parties need to have a voice. And if you're not heard, again, say, it means a lot to me and I like to repeat this. It doesn't have to be a defensive posture, but it has to be a well-articulated, clearly articulated posture. And if you find yourself being rolled over, brushed over, railroad over, say it again and say, let me make my point across. Let me get this point across, and then ask for confirmation. Many times we do not ask for confirmation. When we don't, people railroad over us and then we feel defeated, we feel discouraged, and then we step out of the conversation. It's important that if you are not heard, to restate it. clearly. And sometimes physical touch is important. A physical touch and say, hey, let me state my point across. Just a light physical touch would get people's attention. And especially when you have children and working with children, it's important to be in close proximity with them and not give instructions or communicate when you're in a different room or when you're in the same room but in a, with a wide divide. So being in the same space, being able to express yourself with indoor tone is very important. Okay, there was how to create Teresa. How do you recreate intimacy after having children, or even rethink of what intimacy looks like after that? That's a common questions that many couples deal with, and I think many times couples focus so much on the upcoming birth, arrival of the child, that they've put their relationship on hold. Remember, children are there in your life for a period of time. They are gifts for us to enjoy for a period of time. So it's important to bear in mind, how do you build your relationship? Many times when the child arrives, we focus so much on the child. Everything is geared towards the child. But there's very little conversation on efforts and energy that focuses on the partners, the pair in the room. So start by having conversations, little conversations about how we can hear each other. It's not just about doing things, not just about the physical act of doing chores. Many times, intimacy starts with hearing, communicating, respecting each other's perspective. Because when you're heard, you connect easier. When you're not heard, you start to dismantle, you start to disconnect, and that is the disconnection, erodes on the intimacy. So having conversations is important for the couples to go on weekly dates. It doesn't have to be expensive. It could be an ice cream date. Probably this is not a good time because it's winter, but it's, go on a coffee date or whatever, where you and your partner can be in a space where the child is not always in the room. So it's important that you nurture that relationship, because when you make your marriage child-centered, then over time, once the child leaves, then you find yourself, trying to having to know your partner. So it's important to nurture that. And many couples forget that their relationship is a priority, because so much energy, effort, finances, money, resources are poured into the child. So find balance in your relationship. Okay, let's see if I can find another question. Okay, Lindsay, what are you, when you know your partner is in the place that they're working on themselves, how do you work with them? One of the biggest things that I keep seeing as a therapist is that couples lose their connection and their communication when the child arrives, when a child, and if they have multiple children, it's really hard for them to connect because they have not nurtured that. So, in keeping that connection, it's important to ask about, is there anything that you want to share with me? It doesn't have to be intrusive, but it can be inviting. Is there anything you want to share with me about what you learned about yourself? And then in asking, it's also important that you share about yourself and not just make it about the other person. Because the way to connect is to start sharing about yourself. When you share, then people open up. Then they go, okay, I feel safer because you have been vulnerable. You have been open. So take out the the need to just be inquisitive about their growth, but share about your growth or your lack of growth or the growth you want to see. So it's not just about one way dialogue. If you have teenagers, the best way for teenagers to open up is when you share about your struggles, not about your successes. When you share about your struggles, teenagers will connect with you immediately, or even coworkers, because when you're in a vulnerable place, people respect that because they see your honesty, and then they open up, and then they trust you a little bit more. So anytime you want the communication to strengthen, talk about what you're struggling with. What's one thing that you want people to know that you're struggling with? Even in conversations that are personal with your partner, it helps to have a pre-planned agenda. Like, that you haven't been communicating uh, in a month, and you feel the disconnection. So think about what you want to say at the opportune time. Don't wait for the things to happen and then go, okay, well, I don't know what to say. It's important that you pause and ponder about what you want to share. And it does not have to be an overload of um, issues. Just share about one thing you're struggling with, one thing you like to see the relationship change, one growth you would like to see, what both of you like to do. Okay, Angela, how do you help someone with chronic low self-esteem? One of the things that just jumps out in my mind is not to fix the person, but be there to understand their chronic struggles. It's not just self-esteem. So when you hear to understand and you hear to connect, the person is then seen, they feel significant, they feel heard. So it's important that, to help somebody, it helps to see them for who they are, not to see them through a certain light. We all like to be seen, we all like to be heard, we all like to be respected. And to strengthen their worth, it is important to think about how you can build on those, being, seeing them, hearing them. And it does not have to be significant, like, something that is heavy in topic. It could be something that they're struggling with at work, their friends, their lack of friends, um, their inability to feel like they're succeeding in life. So it's important to hear people. The best gift you can give to your partner, your children, your friend is hearing to understand, not hearing to change. Many times when people are talking, they're busy constructing our responses. So it's important to think about those things so that the change is on your part. So I believe very much in changing ourselves. Sometimes we want to change our partner. Well, yeah, it's easy to want to change that. But think about, how can I strengthen their worth and be there for them? And to listen accurately, listen objectively, listen with compassionate ears. Okay, Haley. Hi, welcome. How can parents connect with an adopted child who is struggling with attachment issues? Okay, that's a loaded question with two things. So you want to connect, and then there's attachment issues. Again, it's very similar to the other response to Angela. Many times people are unheard or they feel defensive. They already feel defensive when they enter into any or all conversations. So it's important to be compassionate and empathize. So the goal again is not to change the person, but because they have attachment issues, they are struggling to connect with themselves. Many times when we want connection, we struggle to connect with ourselves, and then we project it on the partner. So one of the first issues I hear is that the child is struggling to connect. And due to the inability to connect, he or she may do a lot of defensive jabs, and that throws a parent even further. So when people get defensive and attacking and with sharp words, remember while they're talking to you, they're really talking about their struggles. So I want to set aside like my own ego and my bruised, ego, and I want to remember that their jabs are really about their pain. So I try to give it back to them and come from a compassionate space. Okay, Susan said it helps them by giving them space to share their own experiences and not have not have an agenda. Yes, that's so true. Yes. To hear objectively, to hear compassionately, to hear with understanding, and to hear with a defenseless posture. And many times, just thank them for opening up. Even when you work in a crisis situation, like some of the clinicians, in any crisis situation, when you agree with people and say, thank you for telling me, I really appreciate you taking time to share that important message with me, the pain that you just experienced. I know you're looking for this. So thank you for opening up. And then you want to invite them to have a seat. You want to invite them to be comfortable. You want to invite them to be so-called less defensive. So when you set the stage, it helps. Then they feel like, okay, somebody is finally paying attention to me. So remove the defensiveness if possible. I know it's easy to be defensive, especially when people are, doing sharp jabs. But think about, okay, this is not about me. They're struggling because these these are common issues. All right. So let me take one more question. That reminds me I have 5 more minutes. Okay, am I missing a question? Okay, I'm scrolling through. In your experience with couples, what are the key points to have healthier communication? Okay, healthier communication. Again, it's very easy to want to respond, to answer. Many times when people throw questions at us, they don't have a question. They just want to express their opinion in the form of a question. So think about what is the underlying message. Is it a true question, or is it a way they lead in to try to express their point? Many times in communication, go tell me more about your question. Help me understand the background of it. So then you put it back on the person. Many times when we try to solve it, then we solve the wrong thing. So whatever you do, learn to listen more, to understand. Many times people feel unheard. And when you try to respond to their question, then their defensiveness shows up because they did not come here to ask for a response. They came because they wanted to express themselves. So this is the hidden landmine or the hidden agenda. Many times people will ask questions, but they really want to talk about their own struggles. So be it your child or your adolescent or your husband or wife, go, help me understand the backdrop of this question. How do you see it? So you put it back on them, and then it gives them a chance for them to respond. And it saves you a lot of problems from going back and forth, misunderstanding, and then one little misunderstanding takes you to a long 4-hour detour. So think about, some questions are really not questions. They have hidden agendas. So read between the lines and think about what is it that's driving that. Teenagers, they're very good at that. They ask you a question, they really don't want the answer. So then you go, tell me more about what you want to see happen. Tell me about the importance of this. Help me understand, your perspective. So put things back on people, whoever you're communicating with. And even in the clinical world, I teach the students not to respond to questions because they there is a deeper issue underlying the question. So I ask them to go historical, go contextual to understand the issue better. So take out the problem solving, but put in the understanding. So even in this, think about what you want to take out. Hold on. Think about what you want to remove, but what you want to put in. Many times we get convoluted, we get confused, and we can't sort things out. But if you can, think about what you want to remove, reduce, eliminate. You want to reduce answering questions. You want to eliminate um, being going to doing the back and forth between you and your partner or between you and your adolescent. So focus clearly in your head what you want to eliminate and focus on what you want to bring in. Like tonight, there's a lot about communication. Communication is when people are seeking to understand, they're seeking for a compassionate partner. They're seeking for somebody to hear them, to understand their pain, to understand their challenges at work. So, connection happens when we do more understanding of their pain. Okay, that reminds me that our time is up. So I am going to close with one closing quote. Okay. This is by Paul Wong. Sorry. Being attuned to yourself is the foundation of harmony in all your relationships. Paul Wong says being attuned to yourself is the foundation to all, what did I say? Foundation is the foundation for harmony in all other relationships. I appreciate your question and I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day, evening to check out this live stream. I would love to do more of that, and we'll keep you posted about the schedule and the frequency of it. So thank you so much. Think about what one thing you want to practice, not two, but one thing you want to practice as you journey on this week and this month. Okay, thank you so much. Have a good evening. All right. Great. Okay. Okay.